So setting up a business in Tokyo, the thought itself buzzes with potential, doesn't it? A global capital humming with activity.
Oh, absolutely. It's exciting.
But then the reality hits.
Yeah.
Where do you even uh, begin to plant your flag, find that crucial office space?
Mm.
It can feel, well, like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded sometimes.
Certainly a multifaceted challenge. I mean, Tokyo, it's this powerhouse of the Japanese economy, right? Home to, what, over 37 million people? It's staggering.
Incredible.
So you have these amazing opportunities alongside some very real logistical hurdles. The sheer density and demand inevitably impact the property market.
Making informed decisions about office rental, absolutely essential.
Precisely.
And that's exactly the knot we're trying to untangle today.
Yeah.
We've really immersed ourselves in the resources from moveandstay.com.
Ah, move and stay.
Yeah, and this isn't some fly-by-night website. They've been on the ground for, what is it, over 25 years?
That's right, a long time, helping business travelers, expats, navigating exactly these kinds of complexities across Asia, finding workspace, accommodation.
So they've seen it all, basically.
You could say that. Their longevity, especially catering to that specific audience for so long, it gives them a really unique perspective on the challenges and, importantly, the solutions in this sector. They understand what international businesses face.
So think of this deep dive as us tapping into that extensive experience, trying to give you the inside track on Tokyo office rentals. Our mission is pretty simple. Arm you with the essential knowledge, those key insights. So whether you're a startup sketching out that first office, or maybe an established firm expanding your footprint.
Or even if you're just curious about how it all works in a city like Tokyo.
Exactly. You should come away with a much clearer picture.
Good goal. So where do we start? The options.
Okay, yeah. Let's get down to brass tacks. What are the actual flavors of office space available? Because my mind jumps to those iconic, towering office buildings, but I suspect there's more to the story.
You're right. The landscape is quite diverse. On one end, you have what we call traditional office space.
Okay, the standard lease, I imagine.
Pretty much. Long-term leases, usually in dedicated commercial buildings. You rent a defined space, like a floor or part of a floor.
And you're responsible for fitting it out.
Exactly. You bring in the desks, set up the internet, manage utilities, the whole shebang. It tends to suit more established companies looking for a permanent, customized base.
Got it. Needs a bigger upfront commitment, I guess.
Definitely. Then, moving along the spectrum, we get to serviced offices.
Oh, these are becoming more popular, right?
Very much so. Think of them as a big step up in convenience. They're usually within business centers, offering fully furnished, fully equipped private offices.
So ready to go almost.
Pretty much. And crucially, they often bundle in shared amenities, reception services, meeting rooms, maybe even some admin support. They're built for flexibility and a quick start.
Right, the plug-and-play office solution. Ideal if you need to be up and running fast, or if you value that agility, maybe shorter lease terms.
Precisely. They cater really well to businesses that need that nimbleness.
Okay, what's next?
Then we have co-working spaces. These are, shared workspaces. You might rent a desk or maybe a small private office within a larger collaborative environment.
More communal.
Yeah, the emphasis is often on community, networking, maybe a more informal vibe. Good for freelancers, startups, or teams that thrive on that social interaction.
Makes sense. And the last one.
Lastly, there are virtual offices. This is interesting. It gives you a professional Tokyo business address and some services like mail handling or phone answering.
But no actual physical office space you occupy daily.
Exactly. It's for businesses that need that credible Tokyo presence, that address for their letterhead, but don't necessarily need a full-time physical office.
Okay, that covers a lot of ground. And Move and Stay sort of summarizes the pros, right? Traditional gives you defined space, service offers flexibility.
Co-working fosters collaboration, and virtual gives you that professional address without the overhead.
So it really seems like there's a solution tailored to almost any need or business stage.
Yeah, and it's interesting thinking about Move and Stay's experience over 25 years, watching how these models have evolved to meet different demands. A startup might use co-working, then maybe a serviced office, before eventually considering a traditional lease.
Right, a natural progression perhaps. Okay, so you've got an idea of the type of space. But Tokyo, it's not just one place, is it? It's this huge network of distinct neighborhoods. Location, location, location. Does that hold even stronger there?
Oh, arguably even more critical in Tokyo. The right location can genuinely make or break your success. Move and Stay rightly emphasizes several key factors here. First, and maybe most obvious, proximity to transport links.
Absolutely vital. I mean, Tokyo's public transport is famously efficient, but you still need easy access for your team, for your clients. No one wants a nightmare commute.
Precisely. And it's not just about a station being nearby. You need to look at how many lines serve it, where they go directly. Do they connect easily to where your employees live or where your clients are?
Good point.
And international travel? Yeah, if that's important for your business, Move and Stay notes you need to consider access to Narita and Haneda airports. And, crucially, don't just look at a map, think about rush hour.
Ah, yes, the infamous Tokyo rush hour. What looks close might be packed.
Exactly. What seems accessible at 11 a.m. is a different beast at 8:30 a.m. It's a real factor. Even the kind of lease you can get might sometimes be influenced by how good the transport links are.
Okay, solid advice. What else location-wise should be on the checklist?
Surrounding amenities. This is huge for day-to-day life. Think practicalities. Are there decent places for lunch nearby? Banks? A post office? Convenience stores for those quick runs?
Things you don't think about until you desperately need them.
Right. These seemingly small things add up. They impact employee satisfaction, the overall convenience. Move and Stay highlights how a good selection of cafes and restaurants isn't just nice to have. It boosts morale, provides spots for informal client meetings.
Totally agree. Happy team, productive team generally speaking, and easy meeting spots are always a plus.
And the third location point is target market accessibility. Who are your customers? How easy is it for them to get to you?
Right. If clients can't reach you easily, that's a problem.
Definitely. And consider your industry. Being near similar or complementary businesses can sometimes create useful synergies. Plus, Move and Stay touches on brand image. Where you choose to be says something.
Like Ginza versus Shibuya.
Exactly. Ginza might project traditional prestige, while Shibuya could align better with, say, a young tech or media company. It's about positioning yourself strategically.
So it's not just a pin on a map. It's part of your business identity. Okay, you've maybe found the perfect neighborhood. Now for the less glamorous but absolutely critical part, the lease agreement. Move and Stay warns these can be complex, especially if they're in Japanese.
That's a huge point. You absolutely need to understand what you're signing. Let's break down some key terms Move and Stay mentions. First, the security deposit. In Japanese, shikiken or hoshoken.
Okay, standard enough. How much, usually?
Often, it's a multiple of the monthly rent, could be several months' worth. It's typically refundable, but deductions can be made for cleaning or any damages when you leave, so you might not get it all back.
Good to know. What else?
Then there's something called the fixed amortization fee, or shukyakuhi. This one's important.
Okay.
It's often a non-refundable fee, frequently just deducted from that security deposit.
Non-refundable. Okay, need to budget for that up front then.
Absolutely. You need clarity on how much that is. Then you might have a renewal fee, kushinri, if you want to extend the lease later.
Right. And the rent itself.
The rent, shinri, usually quoted per tsubo. Now, a tsubo is roughly 3.3 square meters. Think a bit bigger than a standard tatami mat, maybe.
Okay, a local unit of measurement.
Yeah, and always clarify if the quoted rent includes the management fee, the kunrihi.
What does that cover?
Usually things like utilities for common areas, cleaning, general building upkeep. It's often non-negotiable.
Gotcha. Any other potential twists?
Well, we might negotiate a free rent term at the start. But even then, check if you still need to pay the management fee during that period. Sometimes you do.
Wow, okay. Lots of details. It sounds like you really need to scrutinize that document. And Move and Stay suggests terms aren't always set in stone. Negotiation is possible.
Absolutely. Especially in certain market conditions. Don't just assume everything is fixed. You can potentially negotiate on the rent itself, maybe the amount of the security deposit, the length of a free rent period, even things like the fit-out period before the rent kicks in.
How do you get leverage?
Do your homework. Compare costs with similar properties, maybe even serviced offices in the area. Knowing the market gives you a stronger position.
Makes sense. Be prepared. What about ending a lease? What do you need to watch out for there?
The termination clauses are critical. Understand exactly how you can terminate and how the landlord can terminate. What's the required notice period? Are there penalties for leaving early?
And getting the place back to how it was.
Yes, your restoration obligations. Often you have to return the space to its original condition, which can be a hidden cost. Also, make sure the official possession date actually lines up with when you need to move in and start operating.
And there are different types of leases too.
Right. Move and Stay mentions the difference between a standard, often 2-year renewable lease, and a fixed-term lease, which just ends on the specified date and doesn't automatically renew. Commercial landlords sometimes prefer fixed term. Knowing which you have is key for planning.
So think about the exit strategy right from the start, basically.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned serviced offices earlier, and Move and Stay highlights their growing popularity, especially for startups and smaller firms in Tokyo. Let's circle back to why they're so compelling.
Yeah, their appeal really boils down to flexibility and cost effectiveness. The big draw is often the monthly rental option. It lets businesses scale up or down easily as needs change without being locked into a long-term commitment.
Which avoids huge upfront costs too, right?
Exactly. You skip a lot of the capital expenditure you'd have with a traditional lease, buying furniture, setting up IT, maybe partitioning. And as Move and Stay points out, utilities are often bundled into the rent, which simplifies budgeting.
Kind of a pay-as-you-go office. That financial agility must be really attractive, and they come fully furnished.
Typically, yes, that's a massive time saver. You can basically walk in, plug in your laptops, and start working almost immediately. No need to spend weeks sourcing desks and chairs. Great for rapid deployment or short-term projects.
This saves a lot of hassle. And they often include on-site management services, like reception.
Right. Reception, mail handling, sometimes IT support. It means you can focus on your core business, not on managing the office logistics. It's like having an admin support team without the full-time hiring costs.
Sort of like a hotel for your business, as Move and Stay puts it.
That's a good analogy they use. You pay for the service level you need, and the operational side is largely taken care of. Their cost comparison between serviced and traditional really lays out those potential savings clearly.
Okay, so you've done your research, maybe found some options online that look promising. But Move and Stay really hammers home the need for in-person office viewings. Why is seeing it physically so vital?
Because photos and floor plans only tell part of the story. You need to feel the space. During a viewing, Move and Stay says you should really check the space and layout. Does it actually work for your team? Can you fit everything comfortably? How does it feel to be in?
Beyond just the square footage.
Exactly. Then, natural light. How much is there? Which direction does it come from? Too much direct sun can mean overheating. Check the overall condition of the office walls, carpets, windows, any signs of damage or neglect.
Practical stuff, too. Power outlets.
Definitely. Are there enough power outlets? Is the cabling infrastructure up to date? You don't want to move in and find you can't plug everything in, or the network setup is ancient.
Good points. So digging into the details of the actual space,
Yeah.
what about the building itself?
Equally important, check the building facilities. How many lifts are there? Are they fast, reliable? What about the toilets clean? Enough of them.
Air conditioning. Crucial in Tokyo summers.
Absolutely. Ask about the air conditioning operating hours, any extra charges outside those hours, and critically, security. What measures are in place? Guards, CCTV. Also, what about earthquake resistance and the building's business continuity plans?
Wow, I hadn't even thought about continuity plans. Makes sense in Japan, though.
Very important. You're not just renting your suite, you're relying on the whole building's infrastructure and safety.
Okay, and then stepping outside the building, the neighborhood again.
Yes, evaluate the surrounding area on foot. Recheck those transport links. How far is the walk to the station? How easy are connections? Explore the lunch options yourself. Is there variety?
See if there's a decent coffee shop nearby.
Essential. Also, spot the practical shops and services banks, post office, convenience stores. Are there any local amenities like parks or gyms nearby that could boost employee well-being?
Move and Stay even suggests checking out nearby serviced offices for comparison.
Yeah, it's a good tip. See what else is available in the immediate vicinity. And their advice is solid. Take notes, take photos during viewings, then discuss the pros and cons thoroughly with your team afterwards.
Sounds like a proper checklist approach is needed for viewings. Now, this all sounds like a lot to manage, especially for someone new to Tokyo. Move and Stay talks about the role of real estate agents. When should you bring one in?
It can be incredibly helpful, especially if you're navigating this for the first time, don't speak Japanese fluently, or just want that expert support. Move and Stay recommends doing your homework, though. Check reviews, get recommendations to find a good agent specializing in commercial properties.
Right, commercial is key. What are the main benefits they bring?
Well, professional assistance covers a few things. They usually have access to a wider range of properties, including some that might not be publicly listed. They handle the communication with landlords, huge if there's a language barrier.
Takes that stress away.
Definitely. They provide advice on market trends, help with negotiation, understand the local laws and customs, and can spot potential red flags in a lease you might miss. Plus, they often have connections to lawyers or contractors if you need them.
Sounds like they can save you time and potentially costly mistakes. But there's a cost, right?
Hmm.
Move and Stay mentions the cost implications.
Yes. Agents typically work on commission, often a percentage of the annual rent. You need to be clear on their fee structure upfront and factor that into your budget.
So weigh the cost against the potential benefits.
Exactly. Move and Stay suggests that while it's an expense, a good agent's expertise in negotiation or spotting problems can often save you more than their commission in the long run. Think of it as an investment in getting it right.
Makes sense. Okay, looking ahead, the way we work has shifted so much recently. What are the key trends shaping Tokyo's office rental market right now, according to Move and Stay?
Well, the big one is obviously the impact of remote work. As Move and Stay points out, it's not that offices are disappearing, but the shift towards hybrid models is real.
So companies need less space overall, maybe.
Often, yes. Or they need different kinds of space. Less focus on rows of desks, more on collaborative zones, meeting rooms, places to foster company culture. This has definitely boosted demand for flexible solutions, serviced offices, co-working over those huge long-term traditional leases. The office is being reevaluated, not abandoned.
More of a hub than just a place for heads-down work. Are specific areas in Tokyo becoming more popular?
Yes, Move and Stay discusses emerging business districts, while the traditional centers like Marunouchi or Otomaki are still prime.
Big financial hubs.
Right. But areas like Shinagawa and Shibuya are really growing, attracting lots of businesses, especially in tech and media. They often offer modern buildings, great transport links, maybe slightly more competitive rents.
A bit of decentralization happening.
Seems like it. Driven partly by cost, but also maybe by the vibe of those areas. They're seen as more dynamic, perhaps, escaping the super high costs of the absolute core.
Interesting. And what about future rental prices? What's the prediction?
Move and Stay suggests the market is still adjusting. The hybrid work trend, plus new office supply coming online. It could put some downward pressure on rents in certain areas or types of buildings.
But prime locations will stay pricey.
Probably. Prime is usually prime. But overall, they expect a more competitive market. Flexibility and value for money will likely be key deciding factors for tenants. They list several things influencing prices: remote work adoption, new developments, general economic growth, interest rates. It's dynamic. Trends will vary across different districts.
So definitely a market to watch closely. It's not static.
Not at all.
Okay, so to kind of wrap this all up, what's the main takeaway from this deep dive into Tokyo office rentals, drawing on moveandstay.com's long experience?
I think the core message is renting office space in Tokyo is definitely navigable, but it requires good research and patience. You really need to understand your own needs, think hard about the location, and get your head around those lease terms. Move and Stay's insights, built over 25 years, are super valuable for exactly that process.
And it really struck me how important those seemingly smaller things are: the local amenities, the building condition for just the day-to-day running of the business.
Absolutely. They really contribute to the practicality and, frankly, the pleasantness of your workspace.
Yeah.
And like Move and Stay advises, if you feel overwhelmed, don't hesitate to reach out to local experts. That experience can be invaluable.
Definitely. Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listeners,
Yep.
to mull over. Given this evolving nature of work, the rise of these new business districts in Tokyo we talked about, and the insights from a seasoned resource like moveandstay.com, how might businesses strategically use these flexible office solutions, not just to optimize their current setup, but to really position themselves to adapt to whatever future changes come to Tokyo's incredibly dynamic economic landscape?
That's a great question to ponder.
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.